Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be always be positive, playful, and charming. Well, I've actually got an email from a woman today, and this is actually the second one where I've answered her email in a video coaching newsletter. She originally wrote to me when her ex-boyfriend basically moved out when she wasn't there and ended up moving back in with his parents because he was really struggling financially, and plus she said they just weren't getting along. They were arguing all the time and it just wasn't a good relationship. So now she's been dating and meeting guys, and she's really looking for a guy who has his shit together. And one of the complaints she has is that she has a really hard time finding guys who've got their shit together. In other words, she's looking for a 3% man, and there ain't a lot of them out there. That's why it's great if you're a guy and you learn this stuff, because you really don't have to worry about competition, because most guys are just weak and they don't get it. And she even sent along her Instagram link, which I'm obviously not going to share that with all you guys, but she's very beautiful. She's obviously the type of woman, she walks in a room and every guy's like, God damn. So she's an alpha female. She works hard. She's got a good career. She's stunningly beautiful. She's got lots of friends. Looks like she lives a really great life, but she has a really hard time finding she doesn't have a hard time finding guys who want to hook up with her and sleep with her, but finding a guy who likes hanging out with her and who she has a good time with, and she can actually turn that into a healthy long-term relationship, she has a really hard time. And so for you guys that are watching this, you should pay attention, because this is what the typical beautiful woman deals with. They got guys all the time throwing their dicks at them, but guys just, they don't know how to act. They don't know how to behave like men, and it's very hard and it's very frustrating. And so you can see, when I go through the email, there's some ways where she's looking at the present guy that she's involved with, of where she's trying to settle. She's trying to make him into what she really wants. And the reality is there's some really glaring things here about this particular dude that she's hooking up with that tell me that he's just not relationship type of material. So I got a quote that I wrote on this particular topic, and then we're going to go through her email. And the quote says, "If you seek, you will find. When it comes to a relationship, you should always be seeking the highest form of the expression of love. See and expect the best in the other person and act accordingly. If you expect that things will always work out in your favor in the long run, then they usually will. If you expect the worst, that you are being lied to, that you won't be loved, or that things won't work out, you will focus on making happen exactly what you are trying to avoid. Decide ahead of time that you will be happy and grateful no matter how the other person shows up. After all, the purpose of all relationships is that you go there to give. That way, you will create a space that they may give you their best. However, if they give you their worst despite your open heart, you can walk away with peace of mind that you did everything you could to love them unconditionally, but that they simply weren't capable of giving you what you wanted and deserved." It's really important, and I know it's really hard when you really care about somebody and you're really into them, you're really attracted, sex is great, you have a great time when you're hanging out, to notice their flaws and their faults and whether or not they're actually a good prospect for a long-term relationship, or if they're better off just kind of being a fuck buddy. So let's get into her email. She says, "Hey coach, you had previously made a video on my last email titled, 'Are Men Intimidated by Successful Women?' I've been trying to move on with my dating life very slowly, but I also feel that no," and she put some big letters, no men know the basic rules that you teach, therefore I automatically get turned off by men." So she meets a lot of guys that she finds attractive, but what happens? They literally talk her out of liking them. That's why if you learn this stuff, if you're a guy and you learn the stuff that I teach, it's wide open, man. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, dude. You can have your pick. You can have your choice. She continues on, "I consider myself a successful, beautiful woman, and it's so hard for me to like a guy. I'm the type of woman who does not chase, does not beg, or give expectations. I just drop them and continue on. I do not like to waste my time." In other words, she's got high standards for herself. She knows what she has to offer. She knows she's gorgeous. She knows she can pretty much have any guy that she wants. And even though that's her life and that's her world, that's not what she really wants. She wants one guy that she wants, who wants her, but who acts like a fucking man and who has his shit together. A guy who knows how to treat a lady. She says, recently I met this guy who has all the qualities, she puts in big bold letters, that I want in a man. He has his own business. He's a great father. He's fit. But of course, one big turnoff, and this is a major red flag here, he is constantly talking to women. Well, what does that tell me? Well, there's a good chance there's just some guys out there that aren't meant to be in a relationship. Even when they are in a relationship, they're always looking. They're always trying to hook up with another woman. That's just the way they are. And if you're in the early stages of dating this guy and you notice, you sit in the back of the room, maybe you're at a party or something, he's flirting with every pretty girl out there, maybe getting phone numbers or whatever, being a little too touchy-feely, enjoying it a little too much, what does that tell you about his character? It's not relationship material. Because if he's a good guy and he really appreciates you, not just you for your body and the fact that you're gorgeous and sexy and you're great in bed and all those things, but if he actually really values you as a person and a relationship and being loyal is important to him, he's not going to do those kinds of things because he's going to be respectful of you. He's not going to want to give you the impression that he's going to go and hook up with somebody else. She says, when we met, we talked a lot, we hit it off right away, and on our second time hanging out, we had amazing sex, and he offered for us just to have sex with each other, and I agreed. So he's basically saying, let's just be fuck buddies, in essence. Nothing else. Just have a physical type of relationship. And so, right, I mean, this is the second time you're hooking up, you're having sex. He's basically saying, this is all I want. I just want to have sex with you and hang out from time to time. He's basically told you that he wants you as a fuck buddy, and he wants to continue playing the field. In other words, he's a player. He's not looking for a relationship. You've probably heard the expression that guys often say, which is, don't try to turn a hoe into a housewife. Well, the same thing applies to dudes. Don't try to turn a guy who's really interested in getting laid and hooking up with as many women as possible into Mr. Right, or a guy you can settle down and have a family with or have a relationship with. That's something that you're overlooking because you're thinking, hey, you're having a great time with him. You guys are fucking each other's brains out. But at the end of the day, he's a fuck buddy. Don't try to turn a fuck buddy, somebody who's only capable of being a fuck buddy, into a husband. It's as simple as that. She says, then after that, we hung out on a third time, and he invited me to a softball game where he was playing, and they won to celebrate, and I brought some cognac for the whole team. We hit it off great that night, but then I started to notice the communication decreasing. So maybe, just maybe, you're getting a little attached because you're thinking, hey, this is great, this is going to turn into a relationship, this could be Mr. Right, this could be the guy I'm looking for, but you're ignoring the fact that you guys are just fuck buddies, and that's all he wanted. He was clear. It's like Maya Angelou said, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. So second date, when you first had sex, he's basically saying, let's be fuck buddies. And then you see how he interacts with other women. He acts like a guy who's just a horn dog. He's trying to hump everybody's leg. That's who he is. Period. Don't try to change him, or else you're gonna make yourself miserable. See, you want to meet somebody so bad that you're interacting with this one guy, and so what happens? You interact with this one guy and you think about him all the time. You stop circulating. How are you going to meet the kind of guy you really want when you're involved with somebody who's really just a fuck buddy? Got to keep circulating. I mean, you're gorgeous. You can have any guy that you want. Keep getting out there and having a good time. It's just a matter of time and repetition before you come across somebody who's exactly what you're looking for. And guys do the same thing. They meet a girl and they project their fantasy onto this person, and they just assume that the other person feels the same and it's going to work out. And you're projecting your fantasy of the ideal onto this guy, or what the ideal guy is onto him, and you're ignoring the fact that he's just not capable of being that. So she says, so because I have too much pride and I'm stubborn, I barely reach out as well. So I would randomly text good morning or wishing him a good day or good night, and he would reply with, thank you, likewise. But not every time, since I don't want to look needy or desperate. One night we had made plans to hang out, and I texted him. And it's important to notice, is he reciprocating? Is he doing those things to you? Is he reaching out to you as well? It's like a game of tennis. Women just typically tend to do those things more. On an average day, women say about 8,000 words. Guys tend to say about 2,000 words. It's like the 80-20 rule I've talked about in previous videos and also in my book. Guys should never do more than 20% of the calling, texting, and pursuing. So she says, one night we made plans to hang out, and I texted him, hey, are we still on for tonight? Since I hadn't heard from him all day. And his reply was, I'm leaving work late tonight. It's up to you, but I have to be up at 6. To me, this was bullshit, so I replied, okay, never mind, have a good night. So that tells me you got a little pissed off, you got a little butthurt, and it's like, this tells me a lot about your mindset and the way you're thinking. You're presupposing it's not going to work out. You're presupposing he's not going to want to see you. So what happens? Oh, that's all right, screw you. All right, well, I'll do it some other time then. Instead of it's like the title of the video. Be playful, be charming all the time. And the right way to respond to that would have been, well, I'll try not to keep you up too late, but if you can't keep your hands off me like as usual when we get together, you can't blame me for the fact that you don't get much sleep. But at least in the morning when you go to work, you'll have a smile on your face. So get your ass over here and pick me up and let's have a great time tonight. That should have been the proper playful response. Instead of presupposing, because in your mind you'd already made up the decision that, oh, it's not going to work out. He's not going to like you. He's not going to want to see you. And you got to ask yourself, well, where is that coming from? Deep down, maybe you... Remember, however you think and you believe about yourself is how you're going to act and how you're going to show up. So if you believe you don't deserve to have what you really want, two things. You're interacting with a guy who can't be what you want, but also it's affecting your actions. You're literally canceling a date that really didn't need to be canceled. You could have just responded playfully. If you were presupposing, of course he's going to want to spend time with me. Why? Because I'm fucking gorgeous and all guys want me. If you thought like that, your response would have been completely different. So she says, to me this was bullshit, so I replied, okay, never mind, have a good night. So I started acting different because I work almost 7 days a week and I take my time very serious, so I texted him saying, next time you need to cancel, please do so ahead of time and not just last minute. I take my time very serious. Let me know when you can make definite plans. He replied with definite plans for the following week. We hung out, we had a blast, great sex, did PDA, and he even asked me if we could possibly make it exclusive because he was drinking. But because he was drinking, I'm not going to answer that unless he spoke about it when he was sober. That is smart. I like that. And at the end of the day, he doesn't behave like a guy who's really somebody that you should trust, because what you've seen out of him and how he interacts with other women. She says, now it's been a couple of days since he blows hot and cold and he barely reaches out. Hey, you're just fuck buddies. Think about it. But also, you're wanting him to reach out and pursue you more, but what you should really be doing, you should be going out with several other guys. Because he's a fuck buddy. Great, you got a great fuck buddy. Whenever he calls, you go out, you have a good time, you hang out, you have fun, you hook up. But you're looking for a guy to settle down and have a nice relationship. I don't know, maybe you want to get married or whatever. But you need to keep circulating until you find that. In the meantime, you can have fun with him. There's nothing wrong with that. She says, very brief, short text messages, and he makes all these posts on his Instagram about being single. I don't get why he asked me out one day and we have such a great time together, and then the rest of the week we don't talk. Because you're just fuck buddies. But again, you're projecting your fantasy of what you want onto this particular guy. So my advice to you is to keep circulating, keep moving, keep dating, keep hanging out, having fun and hooking up until you find a guy who you really click with. But take your time with it. I can tell from your email that you're a little insecure about yourself and you tend to get pissed off and butthurt and presuppose things aren't going to work out. And you really just need to be focusing on going with the flow, having a good attitude, being playful, being charming. And if you got 2 or 3 other dudes that you're hooking up with, who cares if you don't hear from one? The right guy, what'll happen is over time, you'll spend more time with him. The more you text and call him, the more he'll text and call you, and the more and more time you'll spend together, and the more you'll see each other. And it'll naturally, the other guys that you're dating will just kind of fall by the wayside. Like I said, your biggest problem is that you're You're trying to turn this guy who's basically a player into a husband or somebody that you can have a serious relationship with, and it's just not possible with this particular guy. So keep moving, keep circulating. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.